Hello, I'm John Howard, and welcome to our learning series on learning family search. This is the first lesson that this series is intended to start at the very beginning with somebody that might not have any idea whatsoever about what family search is or how to use it at all for our family history. So we'll start in lesson one and just begin with the roots of family search, who it is, what it is, but some really key important things to keep in mind um, around when you're working with family search, some unique things about that. And if you don't know what TIB means, we're gonna touch on that. It was kind of to me, it's an important example of a situation that we learned as a church, as genealogists in the church, about data integrity and elimination of duplication. And so that's where we're going to go today. You know, as I was looking at preparing this and what should go into it for the first presentation, I kept having this thought of begin with the end in mind. That's Stephen Covey's second habit of highly effective people. And I created the slide. I put it in, not really knowing why it was there. And then eventually it dawned on me that, you know, we're beginning a new series here on learning a tool to do family history. And there will likely be people watching this that have some sort of responsibility or calling in their ward or in their stake around helping other people in their neighborhood and in their wards to do their family history, or there just may be individuals that are just interested. You've come across this series, and hopefully it's of value to you. So, regardless of who you are and why you're watching this, I would submit to you that think about your effort, your work here with family history and family search in particular um, as a beginning and a opportunity to set a goal. And that's really what Habit 2 is about. It's to begin with the end in mind, meaning you start something with a plan of what you hope to achieve. And sometimes that might change, but it's always good to have a target. So a couple of things you might think about beginning with the end in mind is who do you want to be when you are released from the present calling that you're in? Or who do you hope that you might become from learning more about your family or chronicling your family history better? Also, maybe think about if you want to leave a legacy, or legacy is kind of a big word, it's a heavy word. Maybe it's just about leaving your fingerprint on your family history. What would you want that to be the summation of your efforts? I know for me, as I thought about that I hope that through doing this series and working with other people, that I can continue to grow to love family history, and that regardless of what I am doing in the future from a calling perspective in the church, that I would just always be working and having a mindset of doing family history, and that I can evangelize that to help to continue to help other people, regardless of whether it's my calling or responsibility. And I think the fingerprints that I hope to leave is I hope that I can leave a new way of thinking about family history. And let me explain that. As I've talked to people over the years about doing family history, getting involved with family search, or doing pieces of it like indexing or anything like that, there tends to be a couple of variations on a theme that I get back. One is, um, one really is this concept that I don't have time today because I'm busy, I'm working, I've got a family, which is a very busy time. Um, I'll do it when I'm retired, when the kids are out of the nest, right? And I get that, where that comes from, in that historically we probably, people who grew up with parents or grandparents that did family history were taking a lot of time. They were traveling places to see spots that they could get photos on or do research on, because that was the way they did. It was very, very, it could be very, very time consuming. But nowadays, with all the tools that you're going to learn about, you can do a lot of family history in 5 to 15 minutes a week, just sitting on the couch, sitting in your study, wherever, in your comfy jammies or whatever. You can do a lot. You can take a nibble at a time out of doing this. And then the second one about, well, so it's the other thought process is that I hear back is, well, Aunt so and so or Grandpa so and so or Mom or Dad or whatnot, they have that all done. Um, and so I really kind of hope that I can present some thoughts around why family history maybe it should be an ongoing thing, and that the earlier that we start it with the tools that we have, the better off. And to that end, at the end of this presentation, I have a slide that kind of starts at least me helping to formulate that thought process. So what is your goal? Think about your goal in embarking in family service or family history with using FamilySearch or whatever other tools you want to do. So let's start at the beginning here. Who is FamilySearch? As you can see here, FamilySearch actually began its existence in 1894 as the Genealogical Society of Utah, and it became FamilySearch later. It was founded for the purpose of helping members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints trace their family tree. So they haven't changed really in their core mission ever since then, but they've grown. So FamilySearch is a nonprofit organization. It is a separate, independent organization from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who is its main financial beneficiary. But FamilySearch is a group, is a company unto its own, a nonprofit organization. One of the things that is also very unique about them is that it is free to all. Whether you are a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or not, you can have full access to FamilySearch. You can create a login. You can create a login and use it to research family, to do all the activities in there. Next week's or next session, lesson 2, we're going to actually do an overview of FamilySearch, the navigation through it. But also we're going to walk through setting up an account and what that looks like. It's really easy. FamilySearch also manages technology partnerships with other family history groups like Ancestry, Find My Past, but also independent software developers. We're going to talk about partnerships in a future session because it really gives us an opportunity to leverage multiple data sources, but to bring them together so we have one source of truth for our family history. And they offer a website, mobile apps, and right around 5,000 global family history centers. And so if you have an account, a free account to the website, you can also download the mobile apps from the appropriate app stores and use those credentials to log in and to use the programs and the tools on your mobile device as well. So how is FamilySearch different from Ancestry, Find My Past, all that? One's not necessarily better than the other. They all have great value in our family history search. So one of the ways it's different is all the reasons I listed on the last slide, right? This is a nonprofit where everybody else will they may offer some free tier, but you'll have to pay to play for bigger services and things like that. One of the things that's unique, though, when you look at these different family history sites like Ancestry, Find My Past, other things like that, they all will have access to kind of a common pool of shared and public information. So you could go anywhere to find census information or those types of things. But where they differ is that each one of them have access to specific data that nobody else has. Ancestry is a big example of that, right? They have DNA, They have, was it threefolds? They have a number of different other groups that offer data that is specific to Ancestry users. And depending upon your tier of subscription, you may or may not get access to that. Kind of the special access data that we get out of FamilySearch, or specifically FamilyTree, which is the pedigree creation aspect of FamilySearch. There are links to the LDS membership records. So records specifically, we're going to talk about this in a little bit, specifically when a member passes away and that information becomes available, that automatically becomes a record to be searched in the family tree. Also, there is a link to the Temple Ordinance database, which is obviously something that's really only of interest for members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but it gives us the capability to look at our pedigree charts for our family, see the status of the ordinances, whether those were done or have been done or not, and gives us the opportunity to manage doing it for ourselves or asking somebody else to do it. But probably the biggest difference that very few people know about, that really makes things can make things challenging if you're not keeping it in mind, is that FamilySearch runs an open edit shared tree. That's specific to ancestors that have passed away. So let me explain. So I have one living parent left between my mom and dad and my wife's parents. I have one parent left. She is in my tree as a living person. She every record in FamilySearch or in FamilyTree or in the database will have when it's put into a family tree, it'll get a unique person ID, and that's how you can find them. So she has a PID number. Now, if I were to give you that PID and you go into FamilySearch and look for her by PID, you wouldn't be able to find her because she's living. Records that you have in your tree of people that are living are not visible to anyone else outside FamilyTree. It's a privacy protection thing. However, when a person passes away, their record gets updated to being deceased, and then it enters the open edit shared tree, which means now if you had my mom's PID and she had passed and she was in that tree, or better yet, give you my father's PID because he's already passed. If you and I were looking at that record and doing updates to it, we would be seeing each other's updates, right? So it is a shared record. So whatever you may do or somebody else may do to it affects what I see. It's no longer insulated. This is very different than anybody else. Like Ancestry allows you to see other people's trees, but I can't reach out and change them. And I can't really copy them over. I can't do any of those things like that. One of the nice things about this open edit shared tree is when you're creating your personal family tree, you're going to connect yourself. You're going to build a chain of living people to your dead ancestors. So for me, it was, putting my mom in and then getting her parents in there. But once I got her parents in there, because other people had connected genealogy behind there, all of a sudden in just that simple connection, I got 4 or 5 generations of work, just because that's the connection that has been put into the shared tree. Now, that may not be accurate. That's for me to validate, but that's one of the big pros to having this open edit tree. So you're going to see a lot more of this in the series to come. So let's talk about somebody that, you talk about somebody who left his fingerprints unintentionally all over the work that we do today. This young man, Harry Hale Russell, that is his PID. Actually, you can go look that up. He was born in Cheyenne, Wyoming in 1869 and married a young lady named Dolly McIntyre. Dolly and her family had joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints when she was young. And she did. She loved Harry. Harry loved her. He proposed. When he proposed to her, she had some concerns. And their main concern really was around that he was an atheist. He didn't believe in anything, and he had a very strong testimony of God and of Jesus. And so they were able to work that out, and Dolly came to peace with it, with accepting the marriage proposal after a lot of thought and prayer, and getting confirmation that it would be a good thing for her, that things would be okay. And they did work it out. Dolly managed to be able to attend branch or ward meetings. Um, she got time. Her husband was fine with her going. It seems like the only real problem got to be when one of their I think is their oldest child, when he turned 8, wanted to get baptized, and Harry did have a problem with that. But otherwise, they did work it out, and they had a very looked like a very good relationship. A very inspired bishop, or maybe as a branch president, I don't recall, but the leader of the congregation actually asked Harry to teach an adult Sunday school, and he accepted that. He was excited to do that, and that plus just having wonderful people around him, listening to him, talking to him, answering his questions, things like that. He would join the church in 1912. So 42 years, at 42 years of age, many years after he was married, he would join the church. And just to kind of let you know, though, the kind of person this man was. After joining the church, as he learned the principles of the gospel, he came to the realization that he was $3,500. He owed $3,500 in back tithing, and no one could dissuade him of that belief, no matter the, no one could convince him. And I don't know where that number comes from, but I suspect it was probably for all the years that his wife attended and participated in the congregation where she didn't pay tithing. But he was bound and determined to repay that debt that he had. And as things tend to happen, is he did get a miracle windfall of $2,700 when he received a repayment of a debt that he had long since written off. He received it from out of the blue, and it allowed him to make good on the debt that he felt he owed, even though nobody else was holding him to it. To me, that's impressive. It just shows the kind of individual that he was. He was called on a mission. They were called on a mission to California. They moved the family out to Provo for training. While they were in training, it was determined he had a problem with his heart, so he couldn't serve in California. But he and Dottie got redirected to Temple Square and served there for 3.5 years. And during their time there, they spent a lot of time doing temple ordinances for his ancestors on his mother's side, the abbots. They had a genealogy, a pedigree chart, a book with all the family names that went back generations and generations. You've probably seen some of those books. After the missions, he and Dottie went and visited abbot relatives in St. George. And in the process of talking with them, he discovered that they had been doing temple work, working out of the exact same genealogy book. And so as he took their book, which had obviously recorded the work that was done, and compared it to his, he identified that there had been 360 duplications in their efforts. And he surmised that it resulted in about 1,440 hours of wasted work, as he would say. He was appalled by that, and actually would refuse to do any more of his family names until this problem could be solved. And he did. He went to work at it. He corresponded a lot with leadership in Salt Lake. At first, it was hard for him to really find anybody that saw the problem, but in time, he got the temple presidents and the recorders began to see that this was an issue that needed to be resolved. They were members of the Quorum of the 12, and even the president of the church felt that it did come to the understanding that this was important. This was something that needed to be dealt with. And so, based on Harry's suggestion, he worked out a system for how this could be eliminated. And in 1922, the church established the Temple Index Bureau, and Harry was its first director. Now, the Temple Index Bureau, in general, the way it would work is that if I was living back then and I wanted to do the ordinances for a deceased family member, I'd actually have to send the information into the Temple Index Bureau. They would research to make sure that the work hadn't been done. They would authorize it, send it back, and the temples had been instructed not to do temple work for family members unless it had been authorized through the TIB. The TIB would end around 1959, and at that time, they housed 22 million records. They had checked 29 million cards, and they had prevented 6 million duplicates just in that effort. And then in 1969, the church saw the wisdom, the power of the computer system. Even I think about that even in 1969, and began to move away from physical cards to digital databases, and then we would get this iteration of multiple databases and different programs that we've had over the years. But where we're at now is FamilySearch. FamilySearch.org is the web front end for these databases in the past. All these databases in the past. So today, when you're interacting with FamilySearch and you're doing a search in there, you're going to get all kinds of records, public records. You're going to get church records of people that are deceased. You have the capability to do a lot of searching of that. There's a lot of information. And like I mentioned, there's also ties from church membership databases and ordinance database. These are ties into FamilySearch. They do not house that data. That data is owned and maintained by the church itself. It's just a data connection. And then there's user submissions. There's user submissions in here. So people can go in and add information. You know, as you get working with FamilySearch, or if you have been, you can just go in and create a name for somebody. You can do those things. You can upload information, source information, and other things. So you get this big tree that just is growing from multiple different iterations of the data. And so this comes to a question that I have for you. Think about this for a moment, true or false. Because FamilyTree was created and is maintained by the LDS Church, it is an official genealogical record which has been validated and is free of errors. Think about that. Is that true or is that false? Any of you that have worked with these records in the past and know absolutely that it isn't true. The data that we have is not fully validated. People who have provide it doing the best they can, but it's very, very easy. If any of you have ever done anything like indexing or extraction work, sometimes reading handwriting and getting it equated can be problematic. People can create information, duplicate information, and things like that. And so this is important to remember, that we always have to be thinking with our analytic hats on, data integrity analytic hats on, when we're looking at this information, because we may find data that just doesn't quite match up. Sometimes you have to play the game of one of these things is not like the other. That's just part of the detective work that family history can become. So here's another one for you. President Gordon B. Hinckley, opening remarks, October 2005 General Conference, made a comment. He says, one of the most troublesome aspects of our temple activity is blank. Take a minute. Think about what do you think he was saying? To me, I would think that we don't have enough adult individuals that have temple recommends that are going to the temple, or something along the line, or our youth aren't more involved, or something along those lines. That's what I thought about when I first saw this. But actually, he said the most troublesome aspects of our temple activity is duplication of effort in proxy work. Duplication of effort, that same problem that Harry and the Temple Index Bureau was trying to solve. Now, let me be absolutely clear. So let's just make sure we are all clear on this. What harm is there in duplication of effort? So if, my great-great-grandfather, if I go and do his ordinance work for him and I find out later on that I'm the third family, I'm the third family member that has done that. Does that effort cause any harm to my ancestor? Does it eliminate his opportunity to exercise his right, his choice to accept the ordinance? Absolutely not. It doesn't matter. You know, somebody could have their ordinance work done 500 times, and it's no more valid than, you know, no more valid the 500th time than it was the first time. So the problem is in the waste of effort, the time that we put in. If you remember back, the TIB, after its years of running, avoided 6 million duplicates. Now, if you do a little math here, if you assume if you estimate, which is the number that Harry used, about 4 hours to do the work needed for an ordinance, to get the ordinances done for an individual, that is 24 million hours. And if you break that down into days and then convert that into years, that's a savings of 2,740 years. So that's a pretty amazing undertaking. And so the effort is, you know, you think about this and think about how many other people were able to have their temple work done. How many other people had the opportunity given to them on the other side of the veil to accept baptism, accept the gift of the Holy Ghost, accept these things, should they want to, right? That's the problem with duplication of effort. And it's something that we are going to deal with in a later series. We're going to talk about stumbling across duplicates and ways that we can help deal with that. So FamilyTree, the goal of FamilyTree is the application in FamilySearch that you build the tree, put your records in there. The goal of FamilyTree is to provide one complete, accurate record for each person who has lived on the earth, linked to other records by correct relationships. Okay? One complete and accurate record for each person who's ever lived, linked with their families correctly. Okay. So let's pull this apart. So first of all, let's look at this. Who has lived on the earth? Now, people who estimate stuff like this, mathematicians and scientists, I don't know, it's really smart people that like to make estimates around big numbers, place that there's about 109 billion people, give or take, a little bit, has lived in this lifespan of the earth. This for me reminds me that this is the Lord's work. This is the Lord's work. We're just his hands. We're just helping to do the work. He's the one, as he has already been, bringing data to light and the tools in order to be able to do that. FamilySearch or whatever, maybe it'll be a predecessor, will be there to help there. So the first thing that this statement reminds me of is this is the Lord's work. Second is we, the collective we, globally, family historians, genealogists, things like that, are digitizing and indexing data at an alarming rate on a month-to-month, year-to-year basis, making records available to be searched and found on the internet that have never, ever been available. This is one of the reasons why family history work is an ongoing work, because that dead end you may have had last year, there may be a record out there now. And so we have to get in the habit of, sometimes we go do something else and we come back and check, because the data pool is constantly growing. So now let's look at the second one, the big one. One complete, accurate record for each person, linked to other records by correct relationships. Okay, this is the one that puts a lot of data integrity responsibilities on us. So let me ask, think about this. How do we establish that a record is a complete and accurate representation of the person we say it is? How do I prove to all of my fellow family historians that are working in this shared tree that when they come across my grandfather, Noel J. Howard, that my grandfather, Noel J. Howard, isn't their great uncle, N.J. Howard, right? How do we determine that record, that the record I have that I'm using is the person that I say it was, that its identity has been established based on who that record was when that record was created in the system. And this is done by establishing identity, by providing source information, birth certificates, census information, military service, pension, on and on and on, plus stuff that you might be able to upload. So that the goal is that anybody looking at anybody that is in your shared tree will agree with you that the person that the people that are there are the people you say they are, based on the evidence. And now sometimes we don't have all that information. Sometimes we just have names and a partial date and maybe a place, a state, or a country the person is living in because it's old. We do the best that we can. We do the best that we can, and know that with this growing data pool, if we keep looking and we keep at it, the time will come when the data that I need to establish the identity of those that have gone before will be able to be there, right? So you begin to see, again, this is a lot of detective work and data integrity work that we need to make sure we do. So let's go through a scenario here. So this is me. This is my record in my FamilySearch. This was the record that was created when I created my account. And then I put my membership number in, I created my account. And then, so this is the anchor of my tree right here. And so you can see there's that PID, which is right under my first name, KW283 Fox Juliet, right? I think that's it. I'm having a little trouble reading it. If you were to go look that up, you wouldn't find it. You wouldn't find it because I'm living, as it says there, says there a couple times on the record. So first of all, if I'm looking at this and going, is this the person that I say it is? Is this me? You have a pretty high confidence that it is me, given that it was created when I created my account and tied it to the church database, to membership records. So there's a pretty good probability that this is me, right? This is a high probability that this is me. But I should still attach sources and things like that. Okay, so now I have other members of my family, other family historians, my wife, her siblings, on and on and on. And they all go into their family trees and they create a record for me, right, in their trees, make sure that placeholder is there because I'm married to their sister and I'm married to the individual, to the person, right? And they put my birth date and my birthplace and all that type of stuff. So I have all of that, and I don't know if you can see, but you wouldn't if you could. I just duplicated this. This in reality, what would happen is these would each be different PIDs. Each one of these would have a different person identification, and because they're just living, their scope of visibility is only in the account in which they were created. Okay, so far so good, right? We're all in the living person thing. Okay, so I pass away. There's weeping, there's wailing, there's gnashing of teeth, maybe some celebration. I don't know, whatever. What will happen then is that the ward clerk is going to flag my membership record, change my status in my membership record. And that will go into FamilyTree or into FamilySearch, into my record, and trigger it, right, as being deceased, right? And you can kind of see if you look at, if we look at this, give me something to stare at here for a minute. If I get this, so now, right, I would have death information here, right? And I would have temple status information here, okay? Right on. So I'm right? Now, if you were to go, if somebody were able to, where he would be able to search that number and find me. Okay, so now I get 4 of my family historians. They go in and they update my death information and all that, change me to a deceased record. And guess what? It moves, when you change your record to a deceased record, it moves it into the tree. And look what it's done. It's got this, all the same information, different PID still. And look at this. Right? There's temple. There's no temple work done for this person, because this person isn't tied to the membership record that this person is, which is how this information was found in the temple ordinance database. Okay, so now we begin to see a problem. So I'm going to kick out over to FamilySearch, and I want to show you some of these things, right? So I'm going to go here. Bang. All right. So what I'm going to do is, one of the little known facts that you get for being here today is the FamilySearch.org site, the public facing site, is production data, meaning that's the true data, right? But they also keep a test sandbox instance called beta.familysearch.org. So I'm going to go over here. There we go. Sorry, I had it in the wrong place. Now, if you go to it, right, this looks exactly like production, right? If I were to log into my production FamilySearch, I'd look exactly this. The only difference is right here, up here in the corner. It says FamilySearch beta. Okay, so I'm in this beta. I'm in here. Okay, and I'm going to go into my family tree. Now, one of the things about beta, so what happens with beta is once a year, FamilySearch will take a snapshot of production data and put it in beta. So your beta data will always be behind. It doesn't update. It doesn't update from production to beta or beta to production. It's a static picture of a point in time, but it's a sandbox in which you can do things without messing up your production information. So what I want to do is I went in here and I created a bogus son, example T. Howard, who is living. And here's his person identifier. I'm going to do this. Okay, so I'm going to copy that. Okay. Now you notice all of this stuff, right? Some of this is tied to data. Some of it is not valid. So your mileage is going to vary. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a feature called Help Others, and we're going to. Oops, I don't want to do it there. But Help Others, we're going to talk about this in future releases, but it actually allows you to get the permission to impersonate a user and help them work on their tree. So, but I'm going to go here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my mom's beta account. Okay, and it says I'm helping here. I'm going to go to her family tree. Well, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to hit find. And I'm going to do a find by ID. And look at this. I'm going to put this in. That's the person ID of example in my account. If I hit find, there's nothing there because he's living. He's still a living, breathing entity. Okay. So now I'm going to go to the tree and expand this out. Right. And here's example. Okay. Here's example. Okay. I'm going to edit him. Okay. Right. It says here's the banner. He's living, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to record his death, and we're going to make it 01 November say it's Gilbert. Gilbert, Arizona. Let's see if it's gonna. Oops. If I do this right, Maricopa. That's what I'm looking for. Right? And then you should, even when you're doing in beta, just get in the habit of putting down reasons. And I'm not going to yell at anybody. Let me turn my, I can't even type today. Okay, and then I'm going to hit save. Right. Okay. So now you notice the banner's gone. Okay, the banner's gone. Right. Right. So now I'm going to, if I do this, now I'm going to stop helping. I'm going to go back to, my family, my beta tree here. So let's go back to here, and here's example. Okay. So one of the things is, let me do this. If I go in here now and put the person ID number, for example, there he is, right? There he is already. So so I do see him, right? I do see him. But now I'm going to go in here. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to, right. No. Okay. Same thing. Maricopa, right? And this is, and then I'm going to save. Okay, boom. And now, right? And now he's in the tree. He's out there. Okay, so if I go back to tree, right? Now I'm starting to get, you know, issues, things here. Eventually, what will happen is that the little automation, little family search bots out there will likely figure out that these are duplicates of each other, and I will get a note about it. You'll get a little research help about it, right? So if I go here, it still doesn't. This is this is a production. This is a test environment, so it might be a little sluggish. But you look at that, and if I look at this guy right now, and I look at him right down here, I've got all kinds of detail. I've got information about him. Here's his ordinances. Right? Now, if somebody were to take this PID to the temple, and somebody take that other PID to the temple, guess what? We would get duplicates. Okay, so let me go back to. I'm gonna go back to here. Okay, so let's talk. So how might this be avoided, right? Because creating duplicates is not a good thing. It's I hate to say it's inevitable, but it's easy for it to happen. So a couple of thoughts here. These are me. This is just me thinking about this. Okay, there's a couple of things here. So one, you might consider minimizing the living records that you have in your tree for family members that are peripheral to you. That might be if you're looking for information from you back into the tree, you might not necessarily want or need a bunch of living records in there. If you're like me, I tend to want to make it look complete just because that's the way my way my brain is working. So, but that is one option. You can minimize the living records. One of the things too is communicate with the other family members, right? Why, have them think, well, I can, here's, have them note in their copy of your PID number, for instance, so that they could then go in and merge their record into the actual record. And we'll talk about merging in the future. You can also add a shared note to the record. You can also use a shared note in the record. Let me go back and let's just, oops, that's not what I wanted. Hold on. Okay. So let me go back just really briefly and show here again. See, you can see this, right? You see this stuff up here. This collaborate, right? This collaborate. This is shared. These notes and these discussions are shared with anybody and everybody. I could before I made this public, when it was a private thing, I could actually go in here and add a note, say, the PID of the real example T is this, or merge this record into PID, whatever, right? So, okay, so that's a thought. Sorry, I'm losing my place here. Okay. Wind it down. Okay. Add inertia. Okay. One of the things is make sure that the correct record has as many identity proofs via sources and memory as possible. That way, if somebody's having to resolve duplicates, they could look at that. For instance, they could look at the F3J and see it has a massive burden of proof that's who I say it is, and it's easy. Then it's easier to resolve the duplicate because you have both the things right there. And then also make sure among people that you might know that would have duplicates, ensure that names, birth dates, places, and death places are accurate across all copies. Meaning, in this case, make that, like I did with the example, I put the same information in both. That makes it easier for the algorithms and FamilySearch to find a duplicate and to post up a possible duplicate in there. All right. Okay. Almost done here. So, family history is an ongoing work. I had an opportunity recently to attend a virtual conference from I think it's Roots, Family Roots organization. I think it was, and their keynote speaker, who's a genealogist, an author, and all that, made a very interesting comment. She said, "Family history is more than dates and names. That's the bare minimum. That's what you need." But we want more about the people and the things that they live in, right? And so this is, again, about capturing what's going on, where they lived, traditions, things like that. This is one of those things that becomes very, very important, why family history is going on now, and why people should, while the kids are young even, be invested in family history and capturing pictures and stories and things like that about their family history, because it tells about their culture as a family, their traditions, and who they were, and their feelings, their fears, and their successes and their joys. This family history is about your immediate family also. I already kind of covered that, but one of the things I thought was really interesting on that same conference, they did a youth section, and one of the return missionaries that spoke in that, he talked about how when he was on his mission, of course, he loved getting letters from home or emails from home, but his younger brother had made it a habit of recording all these stories that grandpa would tell. And sometimes he would get grandpa to tell him, and then he'd upload those memories into FamilySearch, so that this missionary not only got his letter, but he got a story sometimes from grandpa. And he said, little did I know that grandpa would pass away 3 months after I got home from my mission. And he says, how grateful I am for that family history, in his own words. I can't think of many more powerful evidences of how family history can bless our immediate lives, our immediate families now. We have this charge to create an accurate record. And that is putting as much as we can into these records to ensure that there's an identity behind them. We need to continually go back, even if we think we're done, we need to go back into our data sources and look for research hints that might point to duplicates or more sources, more data that's come available to you that you never know about. Utilize partner data integration. You can link FamilySearch with Ancestry, and you can upload information into Find My Past, and those are all working their automation to find things, and you're going to get hints from all these different locations. We're going to talk about that later on in the series, and how about do that, and the fact that the data pool is constantly growing. Just because you're at wit's end now doesn't mean somebody didn't just scan 10,000 pages that are as applicable to your family, or that one picture or that one record that you've been needing all along. All right, that's it. Thank you. I hope you found this interesting. I hope you come back for lesson 2. Lesson 2, we're going to get into navigation in FamilySearch and talk about setting up an account. And I'm going to show you some things that you might not know about, some neat tools, some neat things that are part of FamilySearch that are really can be really, really helpful. Till then, have a great time, have a safe time, and look at your family history and capture what's going on around you today.